So I'm going to break the seal on a taboo subject because somebody has to, and I'm happy to take all the blame. So there's some story in the news about this hot blonde chick here who called a little boy the N-word, okay? And she raised, MAGA, apparently people raised $300,000 to help her because she got fired for getting caught on camera saying the N-word, right? Okay, so that's the story. Now this is a complex subject, so I'm not going to be able to organize it too efficiently, but I'll be pretty thorough, pretty good about it. Okay, number one, as soon as I saw this video, I was like, wow, she's pretty hot. And I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, a hot chick is going to get money. It's just the way life works, I'm sorry. A hot blonde chick is going to get even more money. And you can call it racist all you want, but I'm sorry. Hot, blonde, blue-eyed chicks? My gosh. Okay, so my 2 points, I guess, are 1, hotness is objective, not subjective. 2, xenophobia is real. It's not good, but it needs to be acknowledged. So let's start with point 1. Hotness is objective, not subjective. Beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. It's qualifiable. Certain women are more attractive than others. Same with men. I'm sorry to break this news to you, but when a fat, ugly girl is crying, nobody cares. And when a beautiful girl is crying, everybody just falls apart. It's just so tragic. Edgar Allan Poe himself said the most poetic thing is a beautiful woman dying. I understand that you might want to think that if you weigh 300 pounds and you're a 60-year-old woman, that you're just as hot as a supermodel, but that's just not true. Now, there was an incident that happened in 2010, I think, in my home city, Toronto. There was a girl, a young, I think 16-year-old blonde girl, white blonde girl named Jane Creba. She was just walking down Yonge Street, downtown Toronto, and a bunch of gangsters, like little thugs, right? They had a little shooting because they thought it would be fun to shoot at each other. And they shot her in the head, and she died, okay? And there was it was a big, big, big deal. Just Google Jane Creba, okay? So there's such an outpouring of oh my gosh, this is so tragic, right? And I was thinking, wait, I can't wait until, I bet you somebody's going to mention, nobody would care if it was a black girl that was killed. And sure enough, somebody said that. So I'm not going to say that it's right that nobody would care if it was a black girl that was killed. But I will say, this was a very gorgeous young blonde chick. Getting back to beauty is objective, not subjective. When a girl walks into a bar, right? You're either a 10 or, if you're a guy, you're either a 10 out of 10, what's his name? I don't know, you're Tom Cruise, or you're a 1 out of 10, Danny DeVito, or you're a 5 out of 10. So anything, if you're not, as long as you're not ugly as fuck, and you're not hot, you're not Tom Cruise, you're not gorgeous, Brad Pitt, then all of us are 5 out of 10 for girls. That's how they view men. And that's why we have to work hard to become a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 by being clever or funny or whatever. Whereas if a girl walks into a bar, every guy will scrutinize her to oh, she's a 6.7 out of 10 or she's a 5.3 out of 10. My point is that men are very visual, right? And they are very, very, very aware of looks. And again, I'm not saying it's right. It's just the way it is. It's just reality. I was in a bar one time, and I was the youngest of 4 guys at the table. I was probably 30 years old. There were like two like 60-year-old, 50-year-old men there. And some hot young chick came in. Hot, blonde, white chick came in. And she came and sat at our table. And she was just spouting nonsense. She was so stupid, right? And I basically pointed out that she's not making any sense. And then one of the older guys yells at me, "Shut up!" And then my friend who was sitting there texted me under the table. He goes, "How dare you talk while the hot chick is trying to talk?" Something like that. And he's like, you old idiots. You think she's really going to go home with you? But that's the kind of power that a hot chick has. And I don't think it's fair, especially to the hot chick, because like that's a lot of power to have at a young age. It's just really not right. I mean, it's too much power. It's like being a billionaire when you're 16. So this here woman in the States, she called a little black boy, the N-word, right? Of course that's terrible. Of course it's terrible. What do you want me to say? It's good? But she seems kind of hot. And that's the way men think. It's like, whoa, she's pretty hot. That's the first thing. I mean, if you're not that kind of man, if you actually just care about like the heart and soul of a woman, you don't care if she's hot, you're a better person than I am. And I'm guilty then. You know, I'm a bad person. One more anecdote, getting into the xenophobia and getting into the whole race thing, right? Firstly, I'd like to say that if you're not allowed if people tell you you're not allowed to say a word, you tend to want to say it. At least I do. You say you're not allowed to say that, then that's the first thing I'm going to say. So she says the N-word, and it's terrible. It must have felt good, though. So my anecdote is about reverse racism. It's really strange and hard to understand. I'm going to try to walk you through it. It's so hard to explain because of how stupid it is. I was in a bar with my friend Sadie, a very pretty white girl who looks just like Drew Barrymore, right? And then an older woman who's very bitter, very disagreeable, and happened to be black, joined us at the table. I'm not sure why. I'm not even sure if we invited her to the table. I'm not sure how the hell we got in a conversation. But they were talking, and eventually the older black lady said that she said that it's racist. She said that it's racist when you point to a black person and you don't say that black guy, and you just say that guy. She said that's racist because you should say that black guy. Like that's how stupid that argument was. So she was arguing that if you point to a black person and you say that guy over there, that girl over there, that's being racist because you should be saying that black guy. That was the big fucking beef. Her name was Tracy. She was a very bitter old woman. Anyways, she continued the conversation with my friend Sadie and then eventually started like shaming my friend and started calling her racist and blah blah blah. And like it accelerated, it got worse, and eventually my friend Sadie, she broke down into tears and she says to me, "How long are they going to get away with this for?" And I said, 10 years. And guess what? That was 10 years ago. As I've always said, if you keep playing the race card every time anything happens, there's going to be no cards left. You don't play the race card. Save it. Save those cards for when it actually matters. Do you remember when, you're not as old as me probably, I'm 47. Do you remember when Kanye West said, George W. Bush hates black people? I think Mike Myers was there, Germ, when he said that. And I'm like, you idiot. You're the top black person. Like, you're filthy rich. And you're playing the race card? So getting back to Jane Creba, the 16-year-old white blonde girl with blue eyes who got gunned down by gangsters, whatever the hell I don't even know what you call them. Little hoodlums. wannabe gangsters. She got shot in the head by them in downtown Toronto in 2010. Right in where I live, right? Yeah, if it was a fat, ugly chick or guy, nobody would care so much. They wouldn't be like, oh my god, this is so tragic. That's just, I'm sorry, beauty is objective. Back to this American woman who called a little black kid the N-word. Okay? I don't justify that. It's terrible. Right? It's horrendous. I gotta wonder what kind of mother she is. She's... I mean, why would you insult a child, period, regardless of their race? But it's not just, and I pun intended, it's not a black and white thing. So I'm going to introduce you to a word that I've never hear anybody use this word. Xenophobia. Okay? Xenophobia. What is that? Fear of foreigners. Okay? I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it many more times. I'll mention it 1,000,000 times. I'm the only one mentioning it. Xenophobia. Where does the word xenios come from? Oh, it comes from ancient Greece, 2,000 years ago. Guess where? Of all the gods, who was the god of hospitality? It was Zeus. Zeus, the king of all the gods. His name was Zeus Xenios, with an X. He was the god of hospitality. Okay? So I guess xenophobia literally means fear of hospitality. Like you don't want to be hospitable. But in modern day parlance, it's fear of foreigners. Okay? And we're living Toronto, right? We're even more multicultural than the United States. We're even more. We were like 10 years ahead of you guys when it comes to like being a melting pot of like every fucking culture. All in the same, you put every culture in the same room, right? It's a weird experiment and it's not necessarily going to go very well. I've said previously, if my daughter was going to date a cannibal, a guy from a culture of cannibals, I'd be like, no, I don't want you to date him. If they're from like Pakistani, well, I think aren't horses worth more money than your wife? Right? Like it's better to kill your wife than your horse. I don't know. There's certain cultures that have those values. And also that Americans are deeply, just like I am in Toronto, deeply feeling a sense of like, I don't have a culture anymore. What the hell's my culture? Like, what are we? What am I? I don't know. Anybody can move here. Certainly in Toronto. Anybody can move here and just like right away go on welfare and they're getting all the same privileges and rights that I have. So what does it mean to even be a Canadian? What does it mean to be an American? Apparently it doesn't mean much. So there's a lot of anger and fear. Fear of foreigners. It's normal to be afraid of. That's the problem. Everybody says, oh, you're so wrong. You're so racist. You're so bad. Okay, yeah, you're right. I am wrong. I'm racist. I'm bad. But the thing is, God damn it. The thing is, at least acknowledge that it's a real thing. Maybe allow people to be like, hey, maybe I don't trust people right away. Like, I'm not going to let a stranger into my fucking home right away. I got to get to know them a little bit first. That's normal. You love foreigners so much. You love multiculturalism so much. I'm not saying racialism. I'm saying culturalism. You love every goddamn culture. Okay, invite them all over into your house then. Why do you have a fence in your backyard? You should be welcoming everybody. So to sum it all up, I would say, number one, this chick is hot. Number 2, she's probably a terrible person. And number 3, she feels lost. She feels like a stranger in her own country. She doesn't feel like she has a culture anymore. I don't really care whether you want to forgive her or not. I don't care whether you like her or not. But I think you should acknowledge that this is a real thing. This xenophobia, fear of foreigners, fear of other cultures. And to some degree, it's a healthy thing if it's done correctly. She obviously didn't do it correctly. But done correctly, you should probably ask the other culture, well, are you a cannibal? Do you believe in, like, 50 gods? Or, like, a two-headed god? I mean, like, I don't know. What the hell are your beliefs before I invite you over to dinner? Are you a crack addict? Because if you're a crack addict, then I probably don't want to have you over for dinner. But anyways, I'll end this. I just want to, like, put my foot, my footprint here, because I fucking called this. When my friend 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, was crying and saying, how long are they going to get away with this? And I said, 10 years. And here we are. They used up all the race cards, and now there's none left. And also, stop banning words, because that just makes people want to say them more. And then, you know what? Like 10 years from now, you're not going to be able to call them black people. You're going to have to call them a new word. They'll think of a new word, right? Every word ends up becoming banned, every 10 years. It might surprise you to know that I'm very left leaning. Like I love Joe Biden. I hate Donald Trump. I believe the right wing is evil. I believe Republicans are evil. And also, most importantly, I believe there's a part of me that is evil. And as long as I can admit to that part of myself that is evil, and I can discourage it, then I can at least deal with it. But if you're going to try to pretend that it doesn't exist, that you don't have any of that in you, you don't have any fear of foreigners, then you're just an effing liar. And there's no progress that's ever going to be made. I mean, I'm going to make a number of videos about how the United States is, like, dead. I'm going to make some humorous videos about how the United States is dead. Because it's pretty... Well, it's sad. It's sad because it's funny. That's what I always say. But I'm going to make a number of videos about that. But I think that the first step, if anybody ever listens to me, this is profound. The first step to fixing your fucked up country and fixing my fucked up city, Toronto, is to just admit xenophobia is real and it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be tolerated. There will come a time, it's eventually going to happen, it's already going to happen, when gay people and black people are like, there's no anti of that, no anti-gay, no anti-black, no anti-blah, blah, blah. But you got to ease into it. Give the old-timers like myself some time to adjust. It doesn't just happen overnight. Or else you're just going to be called woke, and you're going to be called, like, frankly, you're going to be called a liar, because that's what you are. You're a liar. I think Switzerland has a very good policy, and so does Germany. To become a citizen in Switzerland is very difficult. You have to either, like, have a parent or grandparents that were born in Switzerland. You don't get to become a Switzerland citizen very easily. And Germany, you're not allowed to have dual citizenship. So if you want to become a Canadian, like one of my friends, he's from Germany, he did not give up his German citizenship. So he's not a Canadian citizen. So he can't vote, even though he's lived here his whole life. Because he doesn't want to give up his German... So you can't have you have to give up your German citizenship if you want to be a citizen of another country. Dual citizenship is... it's possibly a bad idea. I'm not much of a political expert. I'm not even an amateur. But I would think, though, that the fact that I'm 4 generations, my grandparents were born in Toronto, I should have special privileges for that. Because that's how you build a culture. And America, the United States, and Canada are very young countries. We don't have much culture. What does America have? The States, what do they have? The Old West. That's about it. Right? What's the fucking culture? Guns? What's Canadian culture? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Italy, though, like, think about Europe. They've been around for 2,000 years. So Italian culture goes back so goddamn far. They don't have an issue with that. They know who they are. But the States and Toronto, I don't know about the rest of Canada. The rest of Canada is all prairies and bullshit. Prairies. We don't have a culture. And we feel lost. And that needs to be acknowledged. In some way. I don't know. I don't know the answer, right? But that needs to start... People need to start thinking about that. Because guess what happens if you don't acknowledge that? You're going to end up electing a fucking moron game show host to be president. And then he'll end up being, like, destroying the world because he's just too stupid to know how to not destroy the world.